Tell us a little bit about, because you do a lot of different research, and what are some of the things that we are now starting to uncover with the pros and cons, really, or really the cons of having a concussion and not uncovering it or handling it properly?
Well, certainly in the last few years, it's become very prominently aware that there are a number, we've studied now 20, former National Football League players at the Center for the Study of Traumatic Encephalopathy in Boston University that had what's called chronic traumatic encephalopathy. This is a progressive neurodegenerative brain disease. Bad stuff to get, because once it becomes symptomatic, it's kind of a relentless downhill course with cognitive impairment, recent memory failure, progressive to dementia, and then emotional problems characterized by depression, lack of impulse control, so addictive behaviors are kind of wrapped up in this. It's due to a deposition in the brain of an abnormal hyperphosphorylated form of tau protein, which is toxic to nerve cells and kills them. And that's why you have the symptoms that you do. But it's brought about by trauma. That's how this abnormal form of tau occurs. It's not unique to football players. It's not unique to football. It's not even unique to sports. We see it in people that get head injuries from blast in the military. We see it from people that have been assaulted. So it's not unique to sports, but it does happen in people that have picked up too much brain trauma and are susceptible to it.
So it's really traumatic brain injuries that have been sustained over a period of years?
Yes, it's over a period of years. We know it can start pretty young because we've seen it as young as an 18-year-old who died, and more recently a Penn football player was 21 when we studied his brain. And it's not just brain injury at concussion level, but thousands of subconcussive blows are also thought to contribute significantly. So sports like boxing and football are kind of at the top of the list because of all the subconcussive blows that happen. A sport like ice hockey has some, but probably not as, we'll never probably see as many, because although the concussions are equal to football, the number of total blows to the head is much less than the total number of blows that, say, a lineman or a linebacker would take over his career.
So let me kind of postulate something for you. If I play the game without a set of shoulder pads and I get hit, the chances of me hurting my shoulder or breaking a collarbone or something along those lines are dramatically higher. But if I wear shoulder pads that are fit properly and I wear them in a ball game, then that's going to really mitigate the chances of me having a broken collarbone or hurting my shoulder without them.
Right.
Is there things that an athlete can do to help mitigate some of the issues that could potentially happen if he does the right things now? So now you're going to speak to an athlete that says, or mom is saying, I'm not letting my baby play any sports after watching this. But really, there's some things that the athlete can do to mitigate some of those consequences long term. Are there things like that?
Yes, absolutely. And what we're trying very strongly to do is not eliminate any sport. I'm not for that for a second. But I think we can play sports smarter and safer.
Yes.
In other words, in ice hockey, you don't have to check to the head, purposeful checks to the head. The sport can be played without that. An accidental check to the shoulder that rides up, that wasn't purposeful to the head. But lining up somebody to drill them in the head, that's just not necessary. In the old days when they didn't have helmets, they didn't do that.
Right.
But football is largely the same way too. A lot of the unnecessary head trauma can come out of football, and most of the hits that somebody takes over a course of a season happen in practice, only because you practice so much more than you play. Per minute or per hour of participation, clearly more head hits happen in a game than in practice. But over the course of a season, roughly 70% of the head hits are going to come from practice. Well, let's not practice hitting heads so much.
Right.
Let's just
It's a good point.
take those helmets off a day or two a week. I think Bill Walsh did a little less of that
absolutely.
hitting and way ahead of his time. And let's eliminate drills that are unnecessary that really don't help, like bull in a ring or Oklahoma drill. I mean, that's not really helping you play football.
It doesn't. Yeah.
So I think there's a lot that can be done to eliminate unnecessary head trauma. And then rules can be put in place too. Like, I hope one day it won't just be the blind side hit,
Yeah.
but it'll be all purposeful, obviously intentional hits to the head. I don't think you need to tackle that way.
Yeah, I agree with that. And it's changing really the culture of the environment.
Yes.
So, and when the culture changes, it will change not only the practice but also the procedures that happen in a ball game. And you got to certainly start obviously by the rules and regulations, and then the rules and the attitudes that a head coach and a player has really will ultimately change the culture and the environment, so that the game has the same value and love, but some of the things that are causing some issues will dissipate until they're gone.
I agree completely. Last Wednesday night, Chris Nowinski and myself, we co-founded Sports Legacy Institute, which is not for profit to promote concussion awareness and prevention and treatment. We gave Commissioner Goodell the Impact of the Year award, and when he came up and accepted the award at a Boston hotel, he basically said how much he is committed to taking those intentional blindside hits out of the NFL, that he was going to not just fine but suspend. And I think those suspensions are going to have a huge effect. If they, when a team loses a player, they're going to be on that player not to be lost.
Yeah, and really that's such an important point, because he's sending a huge message not only in the National Football League, but both you and I understand the impact that has to colleges, and then also down to the high school level and then the junior high, because that's that powerful trickle-down effect. From me being, across the board, even when I was in junior high and high school, my desire was to play pro football, and so I was kind of emulating my game and doing certain things to try to get to that level. So really changing the culture there is going to have a huge impact across the board. And one of the reasons we're doing things now is to try to help you understand as a student athlete and as a coach that the culture of how you're doing things has to kind of line up to safety first.
No, you're absolutely correct. Totally correct. Example of it, the NFL came out this past spring with some new rule changes in terms of return to play. The rules changes were that if you have a concussion that's recognized and you have symptoms, you're out of that game or you're out of that practice. And before you can come back, you have to be evaluated by not only a team doctor, but a concussion, outside neurologic concussion specialist. Well, within a matter of months, the NC2A and the National Federation of High School Football Associations adopted similar rules, in that if you're suspected or recognized as having a concussion, you're out of that practice or play, and you only can be put back in by qualified medical personnel. Can't be put back in by a coach.
You certainly can't put yourself back in.
No. No, like you did.
That's right. Not anymore. Yeah.